Alice is 29 years old this year. When the tide of memory flows back, her childhood feels steeped in an amber liquid brewed from aged whiskey, cheap cigars, and the metallic stench of money. Her parents ran a card room that doubled as a bar in a dusty Nevada town. The place was less an entertainment venue and more a miniature stage condensing human desires and struggles. 5 private rooms, each hosting a different tragicomedy behind its door. The air was perpetually cloaked in a faint blue haze of smoke, slicing the dim yellow light into blurry beams that fell on faces twisted with excitement or despair. During summer and winter breaks in middle school, that card room was Alice's only refuge. Like a keen-scented hound, she wove through the tables with precision. She never played herself, but she had an innate knack for reading the flow of a game and the fluctuations of human hearts. She'd lock onto players riding a hot streak, their chips piled high, and in the moment of their triumphant laughter, she'd sidle up, offering her sweetest voice to ask if they needed a drink or a pack of smokes. Her motives were pure. She knew victory made people generous, and the crumpled bills that slipped through their fingers were enough to fund her entire holiday, buying her the dresses and snacks every girl in town envied. In that peculiar environment, Alice became a precocious observer, a child with an understanding of money and human nature far beyond her years. Texas Hold'em bluffs, blackjack's calculated precision, the ancient wisdom of Pai Gow, even the obscure luck-driven games, she mastered them all through thousands of watched hands. She could read a player's strength from a fleeting glance or a careless gesture. Yet a strange restraint, perhaps tied to her identity as a girl or a faint fear of an unknown abyss, kept her on the sidelines. The thrill of touching cold chips, the pulse-pounding rush of a high-stakes bet, these remained locked in her imagination, never acted upon. She was only learning the rules, unaware that she'd already been captured by the game's essence. Her grades were a disaster, like a discarded losing card. High school was a distant dream. Her homeroom teacher looked at her with near pity, suggesting she muddle through a community college degree for some kind of future. But that so-called school became the starting point of her life's unraveling, an accelerator toward deeper ruin. The campus reeked of aimless laziness and unmasked chaos. In class, professors droned from textbooks while students fiddled with their phones, screens glowing like a cold constellation in the dim room. Alice's 6-person dorm was more like a small delinquent gang, 3 of them chain smokers. In that haze of smoke and decay, Alice quickly went from breathing secondhand fumes to lighting her first cigarette. The brief numbness it brought made her dependent on this slow self-destruction. Every Friday, she and the other girls, like prisoners breaking free, would flock to the town's only internet cafe, squandering their youth through the night. Some hammered away at rhythm games, chasing virtual triumphs. Others cooed syrupy words to strangers on voice chats, trading cheap flirtations. Alice binged drama after drama, sinking into scripted love and betrayal to numb her increasingly hollow, restless heart. She lasted 1 semester at community college before dropping out. The path led not to a bright future, but to a predictable, dreary dead end. Even if she graduated, the best outcome was being funneled like surplus goods into a factory, another faceless cog on the assembly line. The thought alone suffocated her. Rather than waste time on pointless courses, she enrolled in a graphic design program, but looking back, it feels like a bad dark comedy. The teacher taught 3 classes a week, half-heartedly at best, leaving Alice clueless about even basic CAD software to this day. At 18, Alice hit a crossroads. Her parents wanted her to stay, to help at their new tobacco and liquor shop, to live a safe, quiet life. But deep inside, an irrepressible longing burned, to escape the town's dust and constraints, to chase the dazzling, boundless world of movies and magazines. She packed her bags and headed to Los Angeles, a city built on desire and dreams. Her first job was as a receptionist at a high-end spa in Beverly Hills, surrounded by luxury boutiques. The internship paid a measly $2,000 a month, rising to $4,000 after going permanent. The work was mind-numbingly simple: flawless makeup, crisp uniform, a practiced smile for the ultra-wealthy clients, booking their appointments, then sitting idly behind a marble counter as time crawled by. 2 months in, she got close to the spa's technicians, women whose world was alien to hers. They earned far more, relying on skilled hands and the art of pleasing clients. Some were kept by tycoons old enough to be their fathers or grandfathers, pulling in tens of thousands monthly. Their lives were unimaginable luxury to Alice. They'd casually buy the latest designer bags and whisk her to Sunset Strip's top bars and clubs after work. Amid pounding music, flashing lights, and alcohol, Alice glimpsed a world of decadence and excess, and she was hooked. Fate, or misfortune, strikes when least expected. In that glittering, chaotic scene, Alice met Richard, her so-called first love. 10 years her senior, mature, polished, driving a black Porsche with a watch she couldn't name, but knew was worth a fortune. He was a born and bred LA elite. At first, like any starry-eyed girl, she was swept away by his charm and wealth, naively believing she'd found her prince. Only later did the brutal truth emerge. He was married, a father of two. Worse, he was a spineless, henpecked husband, utterly submissive at home. During their secret rendezvous, a video call from his wife would turn him ghostly pale, scrambling to hush Alice and hide her from the camera. Once the call ended, his panic would melt into doubled sweetness and endless promises. He'd hold her close, spinning tales of a future where his company's shares, half in his domineering wife's name, and a brutal prenup that would leave him penniless if he cheated, were sorted out. He swore their marriage was loveless, bound by profit, and that Alice was his true love. Just a little time, he'd say, and he'd divorce to marry her openly. Reason screamed at her to leave, to avoid wrecking a marriage, to not become the despised other woman. But she was helplessly trapped in his tender web. Every attempt to break free crumbled under his charm, lavish gifts, and seemingly sincere vows, leaving her to deceive herself again and again. At his insistence, she quit her receptionist job. His possessiveness was pathological. Even as a lowly front desk worker, he couldn't stand her interacting with other men. He rented her a luxurious apartment in West Hollywood, serene and private. He wired her $15,000 monthly for spending money, turning her into a kept woman, free from work and worry. It was 2015. Alice was just 19. After the new year, back in LA, she spun a beautiful lie to her Nevada family, claiming a high-paying marketing job, assuring them all was well. In reality, her life was a monotonous loop. Sleeping late in an expensive bed, hours on makeup and outfits, then endless, empty waiting for his transfers, his rare visits. The caged life drove her near madness. He came by maybe 2 or 3 times a month, like ticking off a chore. She grew hysterical, demanding to know when he'd divorce, only to hear the same tired excuses. Wait, baby, the timing isn't right. He'd warned that a hasty divorce could leave them with nothing, pleading for patience. In June, her body changed. Her period was late, and mornings brought nausea and no appetite. When she shared the news with him, hoping it might seal their bond, his face froze. He drove her to the hospital in suffocating silence. The test confirmed her pregnancy, filling her with wild joy. She thought this child could be her trump card, their path to legitimacy. But his reaction was ice cold. He chain-smoked in the sealed Porsche, the fumes choking her, before turning to her with a chilling, unfamiliar stare. "This baby can't happen," he said. His next words shattered her. Their relationship was a transaction, his marriage was fine, and he was only with her for her youth and beauty. He'd never risk his family or career for someone so insignificant. His words were a dagger, slicing through her heart's fragile illusions. The world spun and collapsed. She lost it, screaming, tearing his designer shirt, pummeling his face, knocking off his gold-rimmed glasses. Their cries and curses filled the car in a chaotic mess. When they both calmed, he offered a deal, $30,000 and a year's rent on her apartment as compensation for her youth. In return, she'd terminate the pregnancy and vanish from his life, as if they'd never met. Thus ended the farce she thought was love, in the most humiliating way. The unborn child was lost on a cold operating table. Those days, Alice's life lost all direction, plunging into a bottomless void. To dull the piercing pain, she spent recklessly, buying useless luxury goods, watching delivery boxes pile up as if they could fill her emptiness. She'd party with her sisters, women equally adrift in materialism, drowning in alcohol and noise to numb herself. The $30,000 was half gone by year's end, burned in mere months. In 2016, at 20, panic set in as her bank balance dwindled. With no income, she was eating through her savings. The fear of losing her last lifeline gnawed at her like ants. Having tasted extravagance, returning to frugality was impossible. She needed a way to fund her lavish habits without a 9-to-5 grind. A former spa colleague pointed her to an online poker game, a private app-based table, discreet and thrilling. The group had 10 players, with a $50 buy-in per hand, manageable for her. At first, luck was on her side. Her childhood cardroom instincts, paired with beginner's fortune, brought consistent wins. The easy money hooked her instantly. But soon, losses mounted, her account leaking like a punctured bag. After losing thousands, she realized the organizer, also a player, rigged the game with a rake that guaranteed his profit. She struggled in this scam for 2 months, losing over $10,000. Her savings nearly gone. Her apartment lease loomed at $2,200 a month, an insurmountable burden. To cling to her vanity and avoid falling from grace, she swallowed her pride and returned to the spa, resuming her $4,000 a month receptionist job, scraping by on tips and tight budgeting. In 2017, bad news hit. Her parents' cardroom was shut down for skirting gambling laws. They sank their savings into a small tobacco and liquor shop. With their age and limited energy, Alice returned to the hometown she'd fled to help out. Her life plummeted from LA's glamour to the town's dull routine. Her job was basic, manning the counter, handling transactions, and scrolling social media in the long, empty hours, watching her old friends' vibrant lives with growing resentment. Life at home was bland, like plain water. About 6 months in, Sam, a chef from the new barbecue joint next door, clumsily pursued her. He'd visit the shop with flimsy excuses to chat, bringing her the best skewers he'd made. His earnest simplicity was new to her. Her parents noticed, asking if they were dating. She brushed it off, annoyed. She looked down on him. No car, no house, a meager wage, his world so small she could see its edges. It was miles from the luxury she craved. She'd rather cry alone in a BMW than laugh on the back of his bicycle. Marriage was an investment, and she wouldn't settle for a low-return stock. In December, a night seared into her memory. A drunken man stumbled into the shop, waving a fruit knife from the shelf, ranting incoherently. Terrified, Alice pleaded through tears. Sam, there to drop off a late-night snack, rushed in like an enraged lion, tackling the man in a fierce struggle, pinning him down and telling her to call the police. Afterward, she saw his waist, sliced open, blood soaking his chef's uniform. Shaking, she went with him to the town hospital for stitches. Her parents praised Sam's bravery, seeing him as kind and dependable, urging her to give him a chance. They argued a man who'd risk his life for her was worth more than money. But no matter his kindness, she felt nothing. His virtues were worthless, tainted by his poverty. In 2018, at 22, she couldn't stand the town's monotony or her parents' nagging. Through a friend, she met Jack, reigniting her hopes. His roguish charm and carefree smile were magnetic. He had a car, a house, and a generous, witty demeanor that won girls over. 10 years older, but she didn't care. After just 2 weeks, she gave herself to him in a hotel. Unlike Richard's calculated deceit, Jack pulled her into a raw, thrilling, dangerous world. A seasoned online gambler, he introduced her to sleek, professional gambling platforms, dazzling interfaces, endless games from slots to baccarat, each a polished trap. She started small with a few $100s he gave her, winning $5,000 in an hour on a slot game. The instant withdrawal to her account intoxicated her, far more than Richard's handouts. She was hooked, secretly signing up for multiple platforms, pouring in all her savings, including Richard's money. Early wins gave way to losses, her bets growing reckless as she chased recovery, spiraling into credit card debt. 1 card, then 2, then 3 maxed out. She lied to Jack for loans, family emergencies, fake investments. His trust waned as her demands grew, their relationship souring. Then she found herself pregnant again. When she told him, his rage was scathing, accusing her of scheming to trap him. He threw cash at her like trash, telling her to deal with it. The second abortion carved her soul like a rusted blade, shredding her dignity and hope. Numb and detached, only the virtual casino kept her alive, the fleeting thrill of a bet, the seconds waiting for the outcome. Jack left, like Richard, leaving her with $300,000 in credit card debt. To pay it off and keep gambling, she abandoned all morals, using her fading beauty on dating apps to con men. She crafted personas: innocent girl next door, polished career woman, lying to win their trust and money. Her life became a calculated, endless scam, juggling ambiguous relationships with men who paid her rent, cleared her debts, or sent cash for fabricated emergencies. She sold her emotions, body, and soul for numbers that vanished on the betting table. Year after year, lies and debts piled up, her humanity eroded by desire. Now at 29, in what should be her prime, she has nothing. She's lost over $300,000 to gambling and debt. She's betrayed everyone who loved or tried to love her, destroying what could have been. Twice she could have been a mother, but her foolishness and selfishness ended those lives. In the quiet of night, looking back, from the girl hustling tips in the card room, to the kept woman in a luxe LA apartment, to this debt-ridden shell surviving on deceit, she wonders how she fell so far. Her path is paved with lies, betrayal, tears, and endless regret, trapped in a dark tunnel with no light, no way back.